some people interchange diversity and inclusion. So that we get on the same page, tell me how you explain and how you define diversity and inclusion, and especially how it plays out in the workplace.
First of all, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm so excited that we get to have these kinds of conversations now. So thank you for having me. And so let me get right into your question. Okay, so we think about it when we talk about diversity and inclusion. We use the term, we shorten it to D ampersand I. There's a reason for that ampersand, because they are not the same things. Diversity is a numbers game. Inclusion is about impact. Diversity is something you have. Inclusion is something you do. Diversity is a fact. Inclusion is a choice. Diversity, you have to be intentional to stop that. Inclusion, you have to be intentional to start. And diversity is aspirational. Inclusion is actionable. So the thing is that, I think I've had said diversity is being invited to the party, inclusion is being asked to dance. And there are other terms that we're throwing in there now too. The term equity, belonging. And, we'll probably get into it a little bit later, but I'm actually not a great fan of a lot of these terms. And the reason is because they've lost their distinction. Diversity and inclusion, like you said, people say them together. Diversity and inclusion is a statement, and that's not necessarily true. Equity, belonging, those are very nice words, but I think that they mask sometimes what we really need to be doing, what we really should be working toward. And because we get so comfortable with those words, but not really comfortable with asking ourselves what they mean, I think sometimes we get our whole efforts that are attached to those things kind of get out of whack. So diversity is something that if you're a company and you don't have diversity now, you have chosen not to have it. You have to actually willfully decide not to have it. And companies that are doing that, if they're doing that, if they're still around now, trust me, they won't be around much longer. Because if you try to ignore diversity, and diversity, of course, has so many different facets of it, but let's just talk about racial diversity right now. So if you talk about racial diversity and you ignore the big sort of diverse groups that we usually define by, the EEOC defines by, you're probably walking away from 30% of your population in the United States alone. And so if you're a company that isn't diverse now, you don't have anybody to hire, and you won't have anybody to hire in the future. Most companies are diverse, but inclusion, that's a whole different journey. And that is something that most companies are either just starting to seriously think about. They may be further along in the continuum, but it's very hard for most companies to get that right for a lot of reasons.